Hello, class. Welcome to my office. Not much right now. It's just me in the basement. Behind me is a concrete wall that I've been working on. If you've ever owned an old house or you've ever rented in an old house, you know that the foundation is probably made of what they call limestone or something like that, and it's kind of crumbling. I mean, this house was built in 1925, 27. So I've just been, taking time in the summer and just, working on that. Um, so what I want to talk to you guys about is the story Underwater by Anne Fadiman and about suffering by Kennedy. Well, particularly about Underwater. Underwater is a type of story that we call a narrative story. It's important that you get that because you're actually going to be writing a narrative essay on a turning point, something similar to what happened in Fadiman. And Fadiman watched, well, I'm not going to spoil the story for you. Read it. Um, but something happened to her, and it dramatically changes the way she thinks of life, how she views herself, how she views others. And oftentimes that happens to us, doesn't it? If you've ever read the story, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, oh, I don't know, The Virgin Suicides, The Catcher in the Rye. These books are all considered turning point type stories where something happens to the main character and their lives are changed by it. Personal narrative for me would probably be when I was fitted with hearing aids at about the age of, I want to say 6, 7. And it dramatically impacted my life. Obviously I could hear a little bit better, but those old hearing aids were something else. Put your ear up to the speaker and listen to me talk, and that's basically what it was. It was like sticking a guitar amplifier in your ear. That was about it. There was no digital quality back then, unlike what we have now. And, that really impacted me. Yes, I could hear, but there was a side effect. And that side effect was that I had all kinds of nicknames, one of which was Robot. Um, and because of my inability to hear, it really affected my relationship with friends, relationships with family, and I struggled with with being able to hear and the fallout from that for many, many years. In fact, even after I started teaching at Quincy College back in 2000, I was always worried about not being able to hear my students. Um, and it was only when I got these new hearing aids where I was really able to hear students and really be able to understand them better. Um, and that's when I really became much more passionate about teaching. Think about your own lives. What is something that's happened to you um, that has dramatically impacted you? I have had stories of rape. I've had stories where somebody witnessed somebody dying in the street and felt survivor's guilt. I've had stories of drug addiction, abuse in families. I have had all bad boyfriends, Facebook addiction, parents enabling their kids to do drugs or alcohol, and fallout from that. Just about anything under the sun. I've had stories where boy meets girl, and girl winds up pregnant, unfortunately or fortunately, if they're married. I've also had stories where through some random email they met their future husband. That's actually happened. Um, I've had a story where a student of mine was from from not South Africa. Yeah, I think it was South Africa, and she came to this country, and she really surprised me because she already had her degree in nuclear engineering, but because she was not did not get that degree in this country, it wasn't worth anything, and so now she was starting from scratch. Knew more about how to, I don't know, build a nuclear power plant than I know how they operate. And trust me, I don't know much about them. My point simply is turning points define who we are. They have had an impact on our lives. They have had, for good or bad, but they've taught us something, either about ourselves or about the world around us. I had one student who wrote a story about how she lent her cousin, I think, no, excuse me, co-signed on a loan for her cousin, a $30,000 car. I think you can imagine what happened. Car was eventually repoed, and her credit score is absolutely in the toilet as a result of this. She taught her a lot about trusting people, and age old saying, the quickest way to lose a friend is to loan them money. That definitely holds true there. Now, looking at About Suffering by Kennedy, talks about the effect of post-traumatic stress syndrome on soldiers. It ties into that painting. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it ties into that painting. If you look it up online, The Fall of Icarus, there's a picture, and if you look in my right, your left, the far right hand corner, you'll see these two little legs sticking up, and you'll notice that everybody else is still going about their business. Um, Suffering always occurs while other people are busy, and that's true. I can't tell you how many times I've driven by a scene of an accident, and I probably could have helped, and I just I had tunnel vision, or I didn't want to help out, or I was too busy. But really, the story focuses on post-traumatic stress disorder. There are a lot of people in our nation's military who are coming out of out of war zones, and their minds are gone. Their minds are absolutely fried because of some of the things they've had to witness. I don't understand it. I've never been in battle. I would never say I can sympathize. I don't know what that's like. My father-in-law, my wife Bethany's father, um, he actually had a friend die in his arm in Vietnam. He actually was supposed to go with his troops somewhere, and he got called away for something. Came back, his whole troop was gone, and of course he had survivor's guilt as a result of that. Um, Sometimes turning points aren't that drastic. I had one student write a turning point story about socks. Please don't. I don't know. He's kind of a hermit, kind of a computer geek, almost like myself, and that's all he could think of for a turning point. But I really want to get your mental gears moving because this class does run pretty fast. And over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about some strategies of getting narrative stories going. Oftentimes, when you're writing narratives, you don't want to give away too much at once. And we do this by foreshadowing. If you'll notice in the beginning of Underwater, Anne Fadiman does foreshadow, little did I know, or something to that extent, about what would happen, what's going to happen. So we usually start narratives at the top, at the end, looking back. And then, of course, you share the story. And at the end, we talk about what we've learned as a result of this. Okay? For better or for worse. And, this is the format that you're going to be writing your own essays in. So what I really want you to think about is turning points. What is something that's happened to you? And I don't care how small or how big it is. I'm certainly not going to knock, if something small happened that just sent the spiral, out of control for a day or two. It's not my place to judge. But I'm hoping that you'll write about something that has severely impacted you. I will say this. I had a student who was always kind of emotionally withdrawn. And she was older. And she actually wrote a turning point story about how her friend and her went skiing. And somehow she actually saw her friend fall, and she just thought, oh, he's okay. And as it turns out, he had broken his neck, and he had died. And there wasn't anything she could do. But she really struggled with survivor's guilt, etc. And she actually said that through writing Essay 1, Turning Point, that she was able to find emotional disclosure. Don't underestimate the power of narrative. If you have time, look at the story online. I don't know exactly, not in the book anymore. It was in the first book that we used for Comp 1, but it's called Dysfunctional Nation. And it's by Mary Carr, the author of The Liars Club. And she actually uses this definition as a definition of a dysfunctional family. A family with more than one person in it. Kind of a deal. Alright, I've gone over pretty much twice of what I wanted to, but really think about where you're going as far as what you're going to be writing about in your narrative. and I will see you guys in my next video. Remember, papers, story questions, the answers, anyways, will be due Friday by midnight. Remember to email them to me. Now, some of you, I know last semester we did have problems with emails. I'm gonna give you guys my alternate email just in case. It just saves us a lot of time. Anyways, take care. I hope you guys have a great week. I mean it.